Hello boys and girls, my dear students of class 10. Today I am going to discuss some of the questions from the poem which I have taught you, My Own True Family by Ted Hughes. Now I am not going to explain all those things which are quite obvious or clearly stated in the poem. I am going to tell you only the inner meaning and various interpretations of various expressions and words which I am going to explain to you. Now, there are 11 or 12 questions which I have written down here. I am going to explain one by one. There are questions and answers in a. I have arranged them in an order. Now, I am going to explain to you each question, and then I am going to give you the answer, and in that way, I am going to interpret the possible interpretations of the poem I am going to offer to you. Now come to the first question. The first question that I think comes in one's mind when one reads the poem My Own True Family is the question, who is the speaker? Now, who is the speaker of the poem? In each and every poem, there remains a speaker. There are three voices of poetry, as a famous poet had said. I am not going into all those details. My first question to you, who is the speaker in this poem? Now, the speaker of the poem is a boy or a girl of say 9 or 10, because I will remind you, if you go to the last tacit, there the speaker says that my work was the work of a human child. That means the speaker is a child. Now, how old can he or she be? She or he can be 8, 9 or 10 years old or below that. Maybe he or she is even below 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Now, I will remind you one thing. He is a person who is a human representative. Now, you have to keep this in mind as well, that the speaker is not an aged person. He is either 8 or 9 or say 10 years old, and he is a human representative. Now, there goes the first question. Now come to the second question. Who is the old hag? Now, who is this old hag, the old woman, all nobly stick and rag? Who is that hag? That means the old woman. The old woman is actually the personification of nature. Nature which is endangered. That means nature which is in danger, which is on the verge of extinction. So, the woman is actually the personified form of nature, Mother Nature, as I was saying in Wordsworth's poetry that we find. That's why in has been written in capital letter. So, she is the personification of nature. Now come to the third question. Why did she cackle? Now, you know the meaning of cackle. Cackle means laughing. Now, why did the woman laugh? She was laughing probably because she cackled for knowing the boy's or man's, in fact, because he is a human representative, secret. Now, as she claimed, she knew the secret of the boy. That means, as the boy is a human representative, so in that way, the woman, that means the hag, already had the secret of man. Because as you know, nature or forest has a primordial or is a primordial existence that exists on this earth even before man. So that's why it's probable, or it's very much possible, that nature knows the secret of man, because nature has seen the birth of man. That's why the woman, that is nature, says that she has the secret of the boy. Now come to the fourth question. Why did the speaker quake? That's an interesting question. Why did the speaker quake? Quake means shivering. She or he, the boy, he quaked or she quaked out of strange fear. Because when the woman said, or the hag said, that I have your secret in my little bag, then the little speaker, she or he, became afraid. And that's why she was quaking. Now come to the next question. What does twice awake mean? Now that's a very important question. When you are reading this poem, I will ask you to focus on this particular question and deliberate on this particular question. What does twice awake mean? It sounds very simple, but the actual meaning is not so simple. What does it mean? It suggests the reaching a new realization and opening of mind's eye. Now that's the answer. What does being twice awake means? Being twice awake means coming to a new realization. That means the boy or the girl, whoever it was, he or she came to a new realization or a new understanding, and more importantly, opening of mind's eye. That means his or her mind's eye opened. That means that happens when one realizes something new. That is what twice awake means. Once we are awake when we are born. Now twice or the second awakening comes when we realize something. So that's why it's called twice awakening. Twice awake. Now next question, what does own true family refer to? Now own true family obviously refer to the greater family of nature, which is also called truer. Why? Because nature is a family which is even bigger than our biological family, or where we belong to, or the genetic family to which we are genetically connected. And even more importantly, it is truer. That's why the speaker says my own true family. It's truer. Why it's truer than the biological family? Because it lasts longer than our biological family. So nature's family, which is called the truer family, which is called the bigger family, that is what he refers to as my own true family, is greater and even truer than our biological family. Why? Because it exists even longer than our biological family. Our biological family may go extinct, but the nature's family will not go extinct so easily. So that's why it's called a truer family. Next, come to the next question. Why is oak bark, it's called oak bark, it should be oak bark, the oak bark called black? Question number 7. The oak bark has been called black simply because black indicates evil. That means it has certain evil connotations. Because if the boy or the girl does not keep his or her promise of planting 2 oak trees instead of 1, or in place of 1, which is cut or felled, then the oak tree's bark will become black. That means it will become evil for the little boy or the little girl who will be wrinkled over by the oak bark. So for its evil connotation, the oak bark has been called black. Come to the next question. How did the dream alter the speaker? Now that's an interesting question also, an important question also in the understanding of the poem. Now this poem is somehow connected with the question number, question number 5. Now question number 5 and question number 8, they are somehow connected because the answer is refers to the same thing. Now what does this question say? This question says, how did the dream alter the speaker? As the speaker says in the last tercet, what does he or she say? He say, the last tercet's first line, the dream that altered me. Now how did, alter means change. Now how did the dream alter the speaker? That means how did the dream change the speaker? The dream made the speaker, that means him or her, if you call it, maturer. That means the speaker became more mature than before. That means that happens when you have a new realization. That's why the speaker was calling it twice awakening. So with the twice awakening, he or she came to a new realization, and with each and every new realization, we became more and more mature. We grow old, we gather experience, and we grow mature. That's why the dream, or that's how the dream altered him, making him or her maturer than before. Now come to the next question. What kind of an experience was the dream? Now we know this was a dream because the speaker is confessing in the last tercet that this was his or her dream. This was my dream, as she is or he is saying. Now we all know that it's a dream, but what kind of a dream? What kind of an experience was the dream? Now this kind of experience is called, is an epiphany. Now that's a new term. I think you do not know about this, what epiphany is. Now I'm going to explain to you what is an epiphany. Epiphany is nothing but a kind of sudden revelation. Now what is revelation? Something, when something is revealed to us, it's called revelation. In Bengal it's called unmochon. That means something is exposed before you, something is revealed before you, and you are having a new understanding of something. So that's why it's called a revelation of a truth. So what kind of epiphany? What is the epiphany actually? The epiphany is nothing but the revelation of a truth. Now that's an important thing. When you are understanding a truth, and it is a sudden revelation. It's not only a revelation, it's a sudden revelation. When you are suddenly realizing a truth, then it's called a revelation, then it's called an epiphany. Now, epiphany has a religious or theological association with the birth of Christ, as those said, birth of epiphany of Christ. I'm not going into all these things, all these details, but I'm only saying that epiphany refers to a kind of revelation, because here the speaker is having that kind of an experience of a revelation. So this experience of dream was basically a kind of epiphany for the speaker. Now this kind of an epiphany you will get in English literature in the stories of, say, James Joyce. If you ever read in future the stories by James Joyce, then you will understand what an epiphany actually is. There you will see each and every speaker, they are having this epiphanic experience, that is new and new realization, and there you see the characters with their epiphany, they grow more and more mature. The same thing happens to the speaker in My Own True Family. Now come to the next question. What does the last line signify? Now that's an important question. The last line. What was the last line? The last line of the last verse was, in fact, the last line of the poem was, my work was the work of a human child, but my heart was a tree. Now what does it mean? It signifies, or it means, the speaker's spiritual awakening. Now that is what I was saying when I was saying that it is an epiphany. An epiphany is a revelation, at the same time it's a spiritual awakening. That means it is not a physical awakening. We are awake every day, every morning when we wake up from sleep. That is the physical awakening, but it's not a mental awakening. What is mental awakening? When some new realization dawns on you, DAWNS dawns on you, that means you are having a spiritual awakening. So this kind of a spiritual awakening is called epiphany. Now the boy, he is having, or the girl, he or she is having a spiritual awakening. That's what the last line indicates, that it signifies the speaker's spiritual awakening. That means he or she is spiritually awakening. That means he or she is coming to a new understanding. Her mind's, or his mind's eye is now opening. He or she can see more than what our sort of physical eye can see. Now that's what the last line of the poem means. More interesting is the last question of explain. My heart was a tree. That's with which the poem ends. What does this clause mean? My heart was a tree. Now figuratively, it's basically a figure of speech. In Bengal it's called olonkar. Now what is a figure of speech? It's a figure of speech, or olonkar, and this figure of speech is called metaphor. It's basically a metaphor. Now what's a metaphor? Metaphor is nothing but a kind of implied comparison. Where comparison is implied, it's called a metaphor. Now how is it a metaphor? See, in this line, the heart is compared to a tree. So that's the comparison between a heart and a tree. That's why it's called a metaphor, and it's implied, it's not clearly stated. This comparison is not clearly stated. The speaker only says my heart was a tree. How was the heart a tree? She does not, or he does not explain. That's why it's an implied comparison, and that's why it's called a metaphor. That means an implied comparison. In Bengali it's called tulona. It is another sort of figure of speech. It can be the last line, my heart was a tree. It's also an epigram. Now what is an epigram? You have to know what is an epigram, or what an epigram is. An epigram is also a figure of speech. What does an epigram mean? An epigram means a line where literal meaning is not real. That means in an epigrammatic speech, in an epigram, you cannot understand the meaning from its literal meaning or word-wise meaning. No, that is the epigram. An epigram has an inner meaning. Now if you see, it explains it in that term, that my heart was a tree, that means his heart or her heart turned into a tree, then you are mistaken. It's an epigram. That's why the literal meaning will not express the entire meaning. It means, as I was explaining in my last class, that means his or her heart became like a tree, as if his or her heart felt deeply for a tree. That's why he or she, the speaker, is poetically saying that my heart was a tree. That means her heart was feeling for a tree. In her heart, there was feeling for a tree. That's why the speaker is saying that my heart was a tree. So that's it.